Today we're going over 1.4, which is solving quadratic equations. In this section, we learn how to solve quadratic equations, which are second-degree equations such as x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals to 0, or 2x squared plus 3 equals to 5x. We will also see that many real-life problems can be modeled by using quadratic equations. A lot of those models that you guys will use would be, let's say you throw a ball, it goes in a parabola, it goes up and down, that makes a quadratic equation. When you throw a ball and it bounces, that's also a quadratic equation. So they do happen in real life. Now the standard form for a quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a, b, and c are real numbers, and a is not 0. So you can have 0 for c or 0 for b, but you cannot have 0 for a. And if any of the terms are in the opposite side of the equal sign, you have to move them all to the same side. So for example 1, they want us to find all real solutions of the equation x squared plus 5x equals 24. Now in order to put it in standard form, I'm going to subtract the 24 from both sides. So we're left with x squared plus 5x minus 24 is equal to 0. And now we can do factoring as we have been doing. So factors of 24 that add up to positive 5, we have 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8. I can stop here because if we do 8 minus 3, we get positive 5. And if we do 8 times negative 3, we get negative 24. So we're going to do x minus 3, x plus 8. This is where we usually have been stopping. Now, since we're now solving them because it has an equal sign, we're going to set each parenthesis equal to 0. So x minus 3 is equal to 0, and x plus 8 is equal to 0. And we're going to solve them to get the x values. So I'm going to go ahead and add the 3. And we get x is equal to 3. And here I'm going to subtract the 8. And I will get x is equal to negative 8. Now these are your final solutions. X is equal to 3 and x is equal to negative 8. So solving quadratic equations by completing the square. They want us to find all the real solutions for each equation. We have A and we have B. Let's start with A. A is x squared minus 8x plus 13 is equal to 0. Now remember, for completing the square, you want to move the c to the other side because you want the x's to be on one side and the constant to be in the other. So it's going to become x squared minus 8x is equal to negative 13. Now remember, the next step, we're going to get the x squared plus the bx, which is negative 8x, plus negative 8 over 2 squared equals negative 13 plus negative 8 over 2 squared. After we do this, this is going to factor out into x plus negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. So I'm going to make it a negative 4. And that square is going to go on the outside of that parentheses, equals negative 13 plus 4 squared. Now this is going to simplify to x minus 4 squared equals negative 13 plus 16. I'm going to combine them. X minus 4 squared equals positive 3. Now I'm going to take the square root from both sides, and I get x minus 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 3. And then I add the 4 on both sides. And I get my x is equal to 4 plus or minus root 3. Notice there are two answers here. One is positive and one is with a negative root 3. Now we're going to do B. Now for B, let me rewrite it first. Again, when you're solving with completing the square, you want your A to actually be 1. So if you have something like this and you're solving for it with completing the square, you're going to divide everything by 3, including the 0. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, so it becomes x squared. Negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4x. And then 6 divided by 3 is 2. 0 divided by 3 is 0. So we're left with this new equation. Now we can factorize by completing the square. So I'm going to subtract the 2. That's going to give me x squared minus 4x is equal to negative 2. Now I'm going to go into that format, so the b over 2 squared. So I'm going to get x squared minus 4x. I'm going to do b over 2 right here. That's going to be negative 4 over 2 squared, which is negative 2 squared, which is 4. So wherever there's a b over 2 in the formula that I gave you in the last slide, I'm just going to go ahead and put a 4. So plus 4 equals negative 2 plus 4. We factor the left side, and it becomes x minus 2 squared equals to 2. Then I go ahead and take the square root, and I get x minus 2 is equal to plus or minus root 2. I'll add the 2 on both sides, and I'm left with x is equal to 2 plus or minus root 2, and then that would be your final answer. So we're going to start with number 1. We're going to start by adding the 38 on both sides, and we're left with p squared plus 14p equals 38. Now, your b over 2 squared, it's going to be 14 over 7 squared. Sorry, 14 over 2. So you get 7 squared, which is 49. Now, after you get that, we're going to write p squared plus 14p plus 49 equals 38 plus 49. Now, p squared plus 14p plus 49 factors into p plus 7 squared, and 38 and 49 are 87. Then we take the square root, and we're left with p plus 7 equals plus or minus root 87. We subtract the 7 on both sides, and we're left with p equal plus or minus root 87 minus 7, or you can also write it as p is equal to negative 7 plus or minus root 87. Either one is fine. It's the same thing. I don't think it's so. Now again here, I'm going to start by adding, of course, I'm going to start by adding the 59. So we have v squared plus 6v equals 59. And then again, my b over 2 squared is going to be, so that's going to be 6 over 2 squared. So that's 3 squared. So your b over 2 squared is 9. You're going to be left with b squared plus 6v plus 9 equals 59 plus 9. This is going to factor to v plus 3 squared equals to 68. I will take the square root on both sides, and we're left with v plus 3 equals plus or minus root 68. I'll subtract the 3, and I'm left with v equals negative 3 plus or minus root 68. Now, I think 68 factors into 2 and 34, 2 and 17. So if it factors, your actual answer is v is equal to negative 3 plus or minus 2 root 17. Again, here I'm going to start by adding 51. So I'm left with a squared plus 14a equals to 51. Again, your b over 2 squared is 14 over 2 squared. That's 7 squared, so that's 49. So we get a squared plus 14a plus 49 equals 51 plus 49. This is going to become a plus 7 squared. And 51 and 49 is going to be 100. So we take the square root, and we get a plus 7 equals plus or minus 10. Then we subtract the 10, and we get a equals plus or minus 10 minus 7. Now in this case, you do have to solve it because it did work out into a whole number. So you would do 10 minus 7 for the first one and negative 10 minus 7 for the next. So here you get 3, here you get negative 17. So your a is going to be 3 and negative 17. You're welcome to write a is equal to 3 and then comma negative 17, or you can write two different statements like a is equal to 3 and a is equal to negative 17 and just mark both. I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 11. I'll get x squared minus 12x is equal to negative 11. Now my b over 2 squared is negative 12 over 2 squared. That's negative 6 squared, so 36. So we get x squared minus 12x plus 36 is equal to negative 11 plus 36. This is going to become x minus 6 squared equals, and then you get negative 36, positive 36 and negative 11. That gives you 25. We take the square root on both sides, and we get x minus 6 is equal plus or minus 5. I'll add the 6 on both sides, and I get x is equal to plus or minus 5 plus 6. So one x is going to be x 5 plus 6, and the other one is negative 5 plus 6. This gives us 9. This gives us 1. So we get x is equal to 9, and it's also equal to 1. All right, for number 5 again, I'm going to start by adding 10 on both sides. That will leave me with x squared plus 6x is equal to 10. Again, my b over 2 is going to be 6 over 2 squared. That's going to be 3 squared. So that's going to become 9. So it becomes x squared plus 6x plus 9 is equal to 10 plus 9. This is going to be x plus 3 squared equals to 19. I take the square root, I'm left with x plus 3 is equal to plus or minus square root of 19. I'll subtract the 3, and I get x is equal to negative 3 plus or minus root 19. So I'm going to add 13 on both sides. And we get n squared minus 2n is equal to 13. Your b over 2 is negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1 squared. So your b over 2 squared is 1. So we get n squared minus 2n plus 1 equals 13 plus 1. This is going to become n minus 1 squared equals to 14. I'll take the square root, and I get n minus 1 equals plus or minus root 14. I'll add the 1 to both sides, and we're left with n is equal to 1 plus or minus root 14. Now we can leave root 14 the way it is because it won't simplify any further.